guys, this is Austin.
And John.
And welcome to another episode of the Meatgistics podcast. Today, we have a fun little deal that John and I might get into a little bit of an argument over on some things, but we'll see if we agree or not. But we're going to talk about the top 11 meat hacks for 2021.
So these aren't things necessarily that have been a big push from us in the past, but these are things that we want to focus on for the upcoming year, pushing to you guys, making sure that you are trying to incorporate these into your just regular meat processing, cooking, food safety, all of that.
Yeah. So I shouldn't do the first one.
So I can see your list, but I strongly disagree with this being the first one.
Really?
Yeah.
See, I almost think it is because it lets a home processor get a little more on the level of a commercial guy.
There is that. Go ahead. Tell them what your number one is.
Okay. So I said the number one is humidity in your smokehouse using like an automotive sponge or a towel like an Aqua Dry. Mm-hmm. We're still doing some looking and research on trying to figure out the best one and then have it to offer to sell to you guys so it's easier to find. But by default, in a smokehouse you're using at home or even a grill or whatever you're cooking on, there is no way to add humidity. And a commercial processor has a fancy smokehouse with a computer attached to it that automatically keeps the humidity at an exact percentage.
Right.
And that makes a huge difference when you're cooking. So John did come up with this, but basically you put a bowl of water in the smokehouse and you put sponges or a towel, something to help wick the water up and evaporate, and it drastically improves and increases your humidity.
Yeah, basically what you're doing with the automotive sponge or the towel is you're increasing the surface area of the water, plus you're giving it a surface that's easier for it to evaporate off of than a standing pool of water. If you ever looked closely at a big automotive sponge, it has the whole thing is holes and runnels, and all of that is surface area. It can evaporate off of all of that. And then the Aqua Dry thing works even better. I didn't like it initially because it takes up an entire rack, but really you just put your water pan on your drip tray and then it's not taking up any extra room. Yeah. And what really was eye-opening to me on that is I emptied, that huge blue water bowl I use.
Yeah.
I emptied that in 4 hours in the PK.
That's crazy.
Which is unbelievable. That's really when I was like, oh, no, I need to go back to this. So automotive sponges are a little bit easier because you can just pick them up easier. This, you have to look for a really specific thing. People have sent us a few samples to see if it will work, but we haven't found anything that matches it. That is a very good meat hack. It's very important, and it's one we've pushed heavily in the past. My argument would be the number one meat hack should be pulling from the smoker at 130 and finishing up in water. It is, you don't care about it as much because you've never used anything other than the, Pro Smoker 500T we have in there. So it's not as big a deal. But when you're doing this with home equipment, snack sticks usually are okay. But when you're getting summer sausage and stuff, that can turn into a 10-hour smoke cycle real fast with just a little bit of a stall and some case hardening, and you're in trouble. Smoking your product to 130 degrees, and I'm determined to say that is the best temperature. I've tried earlier, I've tried later. 130 is the earliest you can pull it without losing some flavor development. And so just pull it at 130 and then 172 for snack sticks, 177 degree water for summer sausage. So you pull it when it's internal temperature is 130. You then put it into a sous vide cooker, or if you have a gas stovetop and you can somehow get it to stabilize at that temperature, like a big pot of water, you just put it directly into the water. The only time you need to vac bag it is if you're using a sous vide cooker that has some sort of like filter, like it sucks in the water, heats it up and shoots it back out. The reason you're doing it there is because some oil is going to escape through the casing, little pieces of the casing maybe, and it could clog your filter. But like the Weston, that just has a heating coil and a little propeller at the bottom that spins the water. Thank you, Papa Sop, for pointing that out.
Yeah.
You're not going to wash off any of the flavor, any of the smoke flavor. That's all totally present if you cook it up to 130. And with 2.9 inch diameter summer sausage casings, I pulled it at 130. It was less than 40 minutes. It was at 160. When I pulled the batch at 140, it was done in 23. So you're cutting hours and hours and hours off your processing time. And as long as you followed all the other steps reasonably well, you're almost eliminating case hardening.
Yeah. I would argue some, though, that if you control your humidity, you won't have that stall and case hardening as much.
Absolutely.
So,
but you used a key word there, control. What we're telling people to do with the automotive sponges isn't allowing them to control it. It's way better than just doing a water pan, but it's not controlling it. It's just adding it. Yeah. So I would say of the two, I think finishing in water has a better or a larger effect on a finished product. Now, I get why you like that one better, and I appreciate it. It's because I came up with it, and the finishing up in water was really Parksider's idea. Who knows where he got it from, but he deserves the credit as far as he's the one who brought it to Meatgistics, saw it, and we decided, oh yeah, we're doing that from now on. People are using like roaster pans. So they're nice and long, so you can run snack sticks in them. Unfortunately, you can't start in water. I tried that with so what I ended up doing was did the whole I added hickory smoke powder, did the entire thing in water, and at the end it was so unappealing, even at 160 degrees. Like, you'd hold the snack stick by an end and it would droop all the way down. So then I thought, all right, well, let's just throw it in the dehydrator. So like 6 hours later in the dehydrator, it finally felt like a snack stick. But then what's the point?
Yeah, it still took just as long.
Exactly. Yeah. So it didn't really fix anything. All right. So for your number 2, you have wild game rinse.
So the wild game rinse, I put that on there just because I feel like not enough people do something with their meat before they're going to process it to control bacteria, help their shelf life, and help keep that meat more stable, I guess, until they're ready to process. But deer and wild game rinse is just a simple combination of a few different things: salt, citric acid, sodium benzoate, maltodextrin, potassium sorbate, sodium bisulfate, and it also contains some sulfites. But the combination of all that, basically, you spray it on your deer carcass on the inside and the out, wherever you shot the deer, whether it's with
you're supposed to concentrate on the wound area.
Yeah, concentrate on that wound area because that's where you've introduced more bacteria. Hopefully there's a gunshot hole or an arrow hole and it's not got a big
bite mark,
or I was going to say like a bumper hole and it's not roadkill. But it comes in just like a little 8-ounce package. And I've said this in the past that I'm going to get like a sprayer or something and bundle it so people can just add water and they're ready to go.
Right.
So I think I need to do that this year. I'm going to make that a goal to find something to do because it will make the quality of your deer meat or other wild game so much better if you take better care of your meat before you process. It'll extend shelf life. It'll taste better. And deer and wild game rinse is, I want to say it's only like $3.
Very inexpensive.
It's super inexpensive and it's so easy to do. Everyone should be doing it.
And that $3 gives you enough to make a gallon, and you're not going to use a gallon per carcass. So $3 will treat multiple deer.
Yeah.
Real quick, while we were talking about a package, we've had an idea in Meatgistics over there, and it's something that we've in the past pushed back on a little bit, which is packages. But we're talking about doing it a little bit different way. We can talk more about it, but almost have like a monthly mystery box where we just put in a few different things each month. Don't say what it is. And Meatgistics users and people at Walton's can either buy it or ignore it.
So say like normal retail would be $40. People pay $30 for it. So they get a deal on it, but they don't know what they're getting.
Yeah, I was thinking more they'd pay like $45 and they'd get the joy of us doing it for. No, yes.
Okay.
Yep, something like that.
That would be cool.
Okay. Next one is one that you came up with. I like this one.
Oh, yeah.
A lot.
There's a story behind this one too. But this one is caring for your knives. I had a realization, I don't know, it was probably 3 weeks ago, that I had not sharpened my knives, I don't think ever. And usually it's not a big deal. I don't do a lot of cutting at home. Very minimal. If I'm really doing a lot of cutting, it's in here.
Right.
I'm doing something in here. The only thing I'm cutting at home is maybe some vegetables. And let's be honest, I don't really eat vegetables. So, I got married a few years ago, and I think that's maybe when things started changing, because my wife actually uses the knives, versus me rarely ever using them. So I was just getting frustrated with how things were cutting, and I was looking at the knives and I was like, these are beyond dull. So I did actually buy, I didn't just take it home.
Nice.
I bought one of our diamond steel sharpeners and like a 12-inch,
polished.
was it polished? I don't remember if it was probably the polished. I don't remember now, but bought both of those, took it home because I didn't want to take one of the little tiny electric sharpeners home.
Right.
And I didn't really want to bring them in here. I wanted to see, could I just easily and quickly do it with the diamond sharpener and then hone up the edge on the steel. And it was night and day difference. I could not believe how bad the knives had gotten. I went to go slice things. I actually was slicing summer sausage, and before I was making like fairly big chunks, but then I was cutting them like paper thin just because I could. And I'm like, this is awesome. But take a look at your knives. Even if you don't think they're dull, they probably are.
Yep. And a couple of things. One, we've said it a bunch of times, but sharp knives don't cause accidents. Dull knives do, because you have to press harder, and that's when you slip. Also, I'm really glad that you did that, and it was fun for you, all that. But I mean, you are foolish because you have access to the True Hone.
This is true.
Do way better a job than you could ever do with. Well, it will do a probably better job, but much faster.
Oh yeah,
than even a diamond steel would do.
Yeah, I need to bring in the knives like occasionally to do them here on the True Hone.
Oh, yeah.
And then leave the diamond sharpener at home for just some touch-ups when I'm like, crap, I need this now.
Yep. And I would be more than happy to do those for you.
I might take you up on that.
I love using that thing. Next one is tender jerky. Now, tender jerky is near and dear to my heart. It's something that our application specialist, do we call him that anymore? What do we call him now?
I mean, you could still call him the application specialist, but he
does many other
VP of sales.
He and I started working on this about 2.5 years ago, and how we started it out was just adding 18% extra brown sugar and 20% extra water, vacuum tumbling it, and a little bit different of a smoke schedule. We did that for a long time, and it's good. It's definitely better than regular jerky, but it wasn't actually like tender. So we made some changes to it, and we've got a bunch of stuff out on that right now. I don't want to take up a ton of time here because either A, it's out there already, or it will be coming out shortly. We have hit the nail directly on the head. Yeah. It's awesome. Yeah. Absolutely awesome. So we're going to do some stuff on that with deer, beef, whatever else we want. Really, really happy with that.
Yep.
Freeze your meat before grinding. This is really important. You don't want to freeze it solid. What I like to do when I get a pork butt and I'm going to grind it, I come in here. It's the first thing I do in the morning. I debone it. I cut it up into chunks small enough to fit down our grinder, put it in a meat lug, throw it in the deep freeze. If it gets too frozen, then I have to wait about, 30 minutes for it to defrost enough to get down there, because you don't want to put fully frozen stuff down there. That's a lot of stress on your grinder, but you want it more than just like if you poke it, you want a good amount of resistance.
Yeah.
You don't want to be able to poke it and move your finger in easily.
Yeah.
That is the best way. But grinding somewhat frozen meat is one of the most important things you can do. It is going to drastically speed up both your first and, way more importantly, your second grind.
Yep.
That second grind is where so much sausage is ruined. People try to overpack the throat of the grinder, and then they try to push down with the stomper. That's the wrong way to do it.
It even is going to have an effect once you get to meat mixing. If your meat is not cold enough, if you started with warmer meat and you took a long time and now it's really getting warm, when you get to mixing, it won't mix properly.
Nope. You will not get protein extraction. You can mix, I think it's now, I believe the point where it won't get protein extraction is like 60 degrees. So you should never be there. Like that should never happen.
Yeah.
But when you start approaching that, I have to imagine that there's some from like the difference between mixing 35-degree meat and 45-degree meat's got to be fairly significant.
I don't know if you remember, but when we went up to Minnesota to record some videos with Ron Shera.
Yep. I do remember.
We were at Rob's house and we took so long doing everything.
Setting everything up.
We had the meat just sitting out. When we got to mixing, I sat there. It felt like 30 minutes trying to mix it, and it would not.
Now, we were doing that solely for video.
True.
So we weren't worried about what the temperature of the meat was. But yeah, no, it was mix. And just you'd pick it up and it'd basically fall apart. We're like, all right, well, we look like idiots.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that's very important. The next one is pH's effect on meat. Something that I've become more aware of, that I think about more, pay more attention to. Part of that is when we started to do some stuff with fermented sausage, which we'll get back into. We will be doing more of that this year. But pH plays such a huge role there that it just naturally, I guess, started applying it to other things. So pH stands for potential hydrogen. The lower the number is 7.01, I think is basic, or like not basic. Base.
Base.
Then anything lower than that is acidic. Anything higher than that is alkalinity. Or
no, it would be
alkaloid.
No, it'd be basic.
But higher numbers are alkaloids.
Okay.
But yeah, basic is also another term for like when it's 12, 11, 10, anything above that. Those are important to you guys because lower pH is going to give you a longer shelf life. That's why we tell you to add 4 ounces to a 25-pound batch of encapsulated citric acid. Add 4 ounces of encapsulated citric acid to a 25-ounce. Add 4 ounces of encapsulated citric acid to a 25-pound batch of cured sausage. That's lowering the pH of that meat, and it's going to help you with shelf stability. The problem is, at lower pHs, water doesn't bind as effectively to meat. At higher pH, there's more negative ion charges available, so that water can actually chemically bond to that meat. But it shortens your shelf life sometimes pretty drastically, depending on how you go. So it's this weird dance you have to do to determine what we're worried about shelf life on and what we're worried about getting more moisture in our meat on. Yeah. So it's a good thing to know.
And just to clarify, I did pull up the pH scale. 0 to 14, 7's the middle, 7 is neutral.
Neutral.
So low is acidic, high is basic.
Okay, thank you.
Alkalinity kind of has a relationship, but it's not the same.
8 is one from, thanks to Joe Hell. It is tubed casings and putting them on what we would have called backwards. So tubed casings, there was a big change for me in 2020 from always wanting to use collagen casings when I'm making sausage to about 50-50 because I found tubed casings. What I don't like about natural hog casings, you have to flush them, you have to soak them, you have to rinse them, you have to untangle them. And that all takes time and effort that I don't want to put into it.
Yeah.
The tubed casings are already pre-flushed and they come on a plastic tube so they don't get tangled. They're all ready to go. All you have to do is soak them. And then in the past, there's a thumb hole on the plastic sleeve that the casings are loaded on. And what we would do is open the plastic, push it onto the tube, take the casing and load it on. Still way faster than non-tubed variety, but wasn't great. Joel found a video of a guy turning that around, taking the thumb hole, putting that up near the grinder, and then just pulling, and then all your casings are loaded on for you. Infinitely better.
Yeah.
Infinitely better. If you're using tubed casings, that is the way to do it. Not that, the loading the casings took that long, but if you save yourself a minute here, a minute there, it all adds up.
Yeah. The quality of casing you're going to get is higher too. A lot of people like to buy the little home packs that only do, say, 25 pounds of meat. And they think, oh, well, I'll buy the smaller one. It's cheaper. It's so much better. Yes, it is cheaper, and we try to list that, I think, on there. I don't know what the exact terminology, but
end runs or something. Yeah,
they're the end of a run. They're shorts, things like that. I've seen pictures of guys with their casings where they're all these different lengths, and they have some that are only like 2 feet long. It's like, yeah, that's why these are cheaper, is because they're shorts. So you buy tubed casings and you get long casings on every single one and higher quality. They pick them out for that.
Take that one. Yep.
Yeah.
They also will have a much better uniformity to them. There isn't so much like, it is mostly it's a natural product, so there's going to be some variation, but much better. Binders and when to use them. So one of the things a couple of years ago that we fell in love with was carrot fiber. It was really inexpensive for people to buy. And in my opinion, and I think 90-something% of people's opinion, doesn't add any taste to it. It's not an allergen, just a great way to get more moisture in your product. What has kind of happened on Meatgistics is I think people saw how excited we were about it and just started using it in everything. And it's not really designed to be used in a cured product. It can be. Plenty of people are doing it. And this is one of the times that I say, if you're doing something if you like the way you're doing something, like if you're happy with the finished product, continue doing that. If you're looking for something a little bit better, or there is a defect that you want to fix, that's when you come to us for advice. And one of the things I would say is when you're making a snack stick, a summer sausage, any cured sausage, use Sure Gel, soy protein blend, even Superbind. But carrot fiber is designed for a fresh product. The reason being, what carrot fiber does is it holds up to 26 times its weight in water. I've done this. That means you can take 1 ounce of carrot fiber, add 26 ounces of water, and it will basically form like this paste gel type thing.
Yeah.
But those products, the summer sausage, the snack sticks, that's a semi-dried product. So you're sort of fighting against yourself there. You can increase your cook times by using carrot fiber. Is that the end of the world? No. And plenty of people are doing it and are happy with it. So I almost hesitate to make too big a deal out of it, because I don't want people to stop using something if they're happy using it. And it is very inexpensive. It's an inexpensive way to get a binder, but a Sure Gel is going to give you a better product.
Yeah. I don't mind using carrot fiber on cured sausage sometimes. It's because, like you said, it's a semi-dry product if you're talking snack sticks, summer sausage, even some of their cured sausage, but it does and can still add moisture. It's just not quite the same as like Sure Gel.
Right.
But it is hard to beat the price, like you're saying.
And another thing that Sure Gel does that carrot fiber doesn't do is Sure Gel contains protein. So it's going to make achieving protein extraction simpler. It'll make it much easier.
Yep.
Okay. Next one is bread to clear the grinder and the stuffer.
Do you get to eat the bread when you're done with it?
No, because it's touched raw meat.
Have you ever tried to cook it and see what it was like?
No.
Okay.
I've never done that. That's an interesting idea.
It'd be like
fry it.
Meat French toast.
Yeah. Well, I've got some. We're going to do it soon. So yeah, we'll definitely do that. Stuffer, I've done this before. We're going to be doing it again for future meat hacks. Grinder, I've never done it on before, but So what we always do is grab some of what we've just ground, put it back down the throat, and then that will push anything that's, not been ground yet out and through. But it doesn't always work perfectly. Like, it's hard to guess exactly how much is left in there. Like, what's the appropriate amount to push all of that out? So I don't know. I'm excited to see how it works on the grinder.
Yeah, it'd be interesting because if you get a little bit of bread in there, it's probably not going to hurt anything.
Oh, no.
So,
that's awesome. All right. So the last one is the difference between whole muscle cooking and ground meat cooking. Why one is cooked to 160 degrees and the other one, like a steak. I stopped my steaks probably a little bit too low, but whatever. If it hits 132 in my mind, it's overdone.
That's fine.
Yeah. But when I worked in customer service, I had no idea why this was, and I just felt too stupid to ask. So I overheard your dad saying it one time. I'm like, oh, that makes total sense. So the reason you can cook a steak to, 130 whatever degrees and it'll be fine, but sausage might kill you at that temperature is because 99% of the bacteria is going to live on the skin, the outside of the product. Skin is the wrong word, the outside of the product.
Yeah.
When you grind that up, you introduce that bacteria to everything. You're mixing in with everything. And not only that, but you're also putting it into an environment that's way better for its growth.
Yeah.
Like on the skin, it's kind of hard it doesn't kink it down. It can just grow one way. Once it's inside, it
goes
go
everywhere.
Everywhere. So steaks, you can stop at, whatever you want. You don't have to cook a steak up to 160 because by the time the center is 130, the outside is well above 160. The only reason to continue cooking it is to get a nice crust on the outside. But sausage, cook that to 160 for beef, pork, cook it to 165 for anything you're doing with chicken, or it's a bad time.
It might not kill you, but the first time you have a 2-bucketer, you're not gonna appreciate it.
Yeah, it won't make you stronger. Like, they say whatever doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Not that. That makes you weaker. Yeah. Significantly so. All right. Anything else you want to cover?
No, that's it.
Awesome. Guys, if you're watching on YouTube, remember to like, comment, and subscribe and share. That really does help. And if you're listening on iTunes or the Google Play Store or Google Podcasts, go ahead and leave a review. Those really help as well.
Thanks, everybody.
Thanks, guys.
See you next week.